Anthony.
Good evening, Dave. How are you?
You love that. You love that countdown, don't you?
Oh, I love it. And it's a great countdown. But the music is you bop along to that music, that elevator music.
It's
Brings
got
it
that
all
nice.
together.
It's got that nice
So
little get
it's that,
ready for the gets
yeah,
you
it's
going.
always that time again. That time again. Did you train today, mate?
Yeah, yeah. Good, nice sort of session today. I think the programming's getting us prepped for the 26.2. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like a standard week of training, I must say.
No, it
Um,
doesn't. It
you know,
feels a bit
just
relaxed, which is nice.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a although yesterday's wasn't too relaxed. That was a pretty, don't
Yeah, but it
know.
was long. It wasn't, it was like that 25 to 30 minute time domain. So you're not killing yourself. Um,
Mm.
like we did in 26.1. How did you go in 26.1? Tell us your experience with it.
So the experience was there was a lot of wall balls, and and I don't normally do box jumps at 24 inch. So yeah, so big, so tested myself. So was trying.
Did you like it? Did you like it as an opening workout for the 20th anniversary of
I think it
the
was
CrossFit
yeah,
Games?
I think it was very accessible for people.
Hmm.
So you could really a lot of people could do those movements.
Hmm.
And I also think I wonder if Dave Castro decided to put so many wall balls in because of the connection with High Rocks, because so many High Rocksers apparently have done the Open this year. I think they're the
Oh,
ones
okay.
we see all the no reps for, not hitting the depth with their wall
Yeah,
balls. So
yeah.
but it seems like but yeah, I think it was a very accessible workout. You had to
Mm,
sell your soul if you wanted to do really well in it. Um,
yeah.
so it wasn't an
Yeah.
easy it wasn't easy
There
by any
was
chance.
it was very like it was very redundant with the jump and the wall ball where we haven't. I can't think of too many workouts where you've done a lot of wall balls and then you're going back to a second movement that is just a slightly more plyometric squat. That's what caught me by surprise by it, because I thought that I would be able to do bigger sets of wall balls, but clearly when your second movement is another version of a squat, it compounds very quickly. And so, as a lot of people found out, the way to optimize their effort um, was to break it up pretty, really segment it more than they would have otherwise. When we do other workouts that have wall balls, like, we quite often do workouts and you do 30, 40, 50 wall balls, but then,
Yeah,
you might then go and do a deadlift or a pull up or something. That was
yeah.
that was what I thought was sneaky about 26.1, that redundancy, that compounding
Yeah,
squatting.
they said. I think Dave Castro actually lived up to his programming because so many people were like going, "Oh, he's washed up. He's washed
Yeah,
up. It's just going to be burpees and snatches, and it's just a boring
yeah.
rep scheme." And then it's just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you just did something completely different, and haven't heard any of those conversations this
No,
week.
no, no.
Everybody's just like, "Whoa, what a workout!" So
Yeah, generally the feedback from the commentators broadly is very positive, and we got to see our boys, Jet and Jono, absolutely annihilating it. Um,
yeah, both in the top 300, I think. So of the world.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's think about that, Dave. 130,000 guys, like
Mm,
men that did
mm, mm, mm.
that registered for the Open, and they're in the top
Yep.
300. That's
Yep.
phenomenal. So
Um,
that's 99 percentile, I think, isn't it?
yeah. So they just had a little bit more than the last 20 wall balls to do. 20 wall balls plus, I think it was another seven or eight ju- uh, jump
Box jump.
overs, box
Yeah,
jump
jump
overs.
overs. Mm.
Yeah, and they would have then
So
finished. So
did you see? Did you want to have a look at the video that? Did you see the world record holder Miriam Von Rohr and what
mm,
she did? She did it in
tell us
less than
sub
10 minutes.
sub 10. Yeah,
Up 10, like it
it did seem
is.
to be. It did seem to be a little bit more reachable for those super scores with the girls whose squatting is not as compromised. and the lighter weight and the lower wall ball line. So the
I
girls,
think it's just simply because the ball's got to
mm,
travel less distance, and that
mm,
allows them to that
mm,
should mean that it's a workout that's advantageous to
mm.
women. So,
There
but
were, I think there were twice as many were there sub 12 or time, within the time cap girls and men
yes,
um,
yeah,
on the leaderboard. So no, great,
yeah.
great start. So are you in the top 25% for quarterfinals or
No, no, you
no?
are. I think you're almost in the top 25%. You're in the top 25% for your age group by
Oh,
far.
I
I
think I'm in the
checked you out.
90th percentile. I think
Yeah,
for
I checked for your age group. Overall, you're in the top
yeah, yeah,
27%, I think, is what I saw.
yeah, yeah.
So you're
Well,
you're just out of it.
we're in the 50 to 55 age division, so
But
I don't even.
I'm in the top
I don't,
63%,
I don't look at
which is
the.
better than
I don't
what I've
even.
done any year. So I'm already in the higher percentile than any other year so far. So
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
there's
That's
double
good. Yeah,
unders and wall walks,
good.
which is what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
picking
yeah,
for
yeah.
26 too, it'll be a bit of fun. So.
And I thought you were going to redo it as well, but you were wiser and didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone was very, very sore. You think about CrossFit athletes around the world who most of
Mm,
us train 3 to 4 to 5 times a week, and
mm,
everybody was concerned was pained by that workout, like with DOMs and all that sort of stuff. So it shows you just how much like that workout taxed people.
yep. Quick shout out to the sponsors. Don't forget to use your camp codes for the Redbacks. The best
I have my
value
redbacks now. See,
grips in town. I think we're picking these really, really fantastic grips up for 60. I think it's less than 70, isn't it? With the camp codes,
$63 with the discount.
$63 with the camp 10 discount, and it's no freight, is there, if you buy
And look at
two?
this. You get everything. You get a towel, you get the
What else do you get?
grips,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
get the other grip,
Yep,
you
it's
get
good stuff.
these,
It's good stuff.
something to
Yep.
stop the sweat. So,
Yeah, and I know there
and
are
you get a
other.
nice little bag to put it in.
Yeah, and we know lots of our guests have been sponsored by other companies, and they have great grips as well. We're not going to poo-poo other people's grips, but like ours is Redback's the best value for
Yeah.
sure. And they're no worse, right? They're no worse. So
And who doesn't like Spider-Man? So come on, give it a
absolutely,
go. Give him a go.
absolutely. Okay, there is a little bit of other news, but we're gonna should we let's have a
Yeah,
bit of a
we need to bring our
intro
guest
to
on.
our guest for the show. A slightly different topic that we're talking about today, but still very much linked to CrossFit, and I'm sure Brent will have a little bit of a talk to us about that, the linkages to what we're going to talk about in CrossFit, and we'll show a little promo video later that that highlights that as well. So let's bring him on to the stage, Mr. Brent Sankey.
Good
Hey, Brent,
evening. How are you,
thanks for
chaps?
your time.
Thank you.
We are fantastic. Excited to have you on the show, Brent.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Been looking forward to it for a little while. It's been
Yeah,
trying to align us together. It's like herding cats, but that's all right.
yeah. Well, we first touched base. I think it was maybe late last year or earlier this year when a friend of mine who's in Melbourne, whose name is Emon, and he's a medical friend of mine. He came up to Brisbane to spend some time with you, Brent, for one of your
That's right.
workshops. Yeah.
Correct.
And broadly speaking, the workshop is called. Is it called the spear method?
The spear system.
The spear system.
Correct.
And I'll just add this onto the stage so that we can we kind of all know what we're talking about here.
Correct.
And it's credited to a fellow by the name of Tony Blauer.
Correct.
And that's what SPEAR stands for.
Correct. So
Not
Tony is a lifelong martial artist who created the spear system a number of years ago. It's used by various organisations all over the world for self-protection, self-defence. And a number of years ago, it was heavily involved in the CrossFit community via Greg Glassman. Tony and Greg are great mates, and they ended up having CrossFit Defence for a period of time. I think up to about 2018 or thereabouts, I think it was. But I work for Tony in Australia. So there's myself and another chap, Bruno Corica in Melbourne. And we just make people safer. That's what our mission is. Just making good people safer. That's our mission.
Well, we'll work out how that exactly happens. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Brent. You live in Brisbane as well.
Correct.
And what's your background?
Well, I was thinking about that today. How do I answer this? The simple one is I'm a jack of all trades, absolute quintessential one of that. So working life, I've covered off on pretty much everything you do. I've been a milkman, a bartender, a bouncer. I've been a cop, a tree lopper. I've dug holes, operated machinery. Last 20 odd years, I was in project management. But in behind all that, I've always been interested in the martial world. I've spent 30 odd years, 30. Oh Jesus! Now we're showing our age, boys. I've been around boxing since I was about 17.
Yep.
So I'm 56 now. So you do the math. I got to take my shoes off to count that.
So with all of your other, was boxing always, martial arts was always your passion? That was like something that you always had happening as part of your lifestyle?
That's a really good question. And again, I've had to answer that a few times over the years, but I started boxing out of fear. My dad was in the military. We moved school a lot when I was a young bloke. My older brother and I used to get in a bit of drama at school because of it. And I was always a scared kid. Anything I did, I was good at sports, but I was always scared. So that fear element of what it was of being able to defend myself and not looking like a goose, that's what really brought me into boxing. I was lucky enough, my dad said to me, my dad was an exceptionally good athlete, played nudgy first 15 and all that sort of business, and in the military he played a lot of sport. He said to me, boy, you got too big a mouth and you can't run that fast, so you're going to have to learn how to fight. So he took me to an old Brophy's tent boxing mate of his, and he gave me a bit of training, and it sort of led from there. But it really was fear that led me into boxing. I've been with the same club since 1987, 1988. So the club that I started at, which was Redlands Boxing back in the day, run by a gentleman called Graham Prowse. Over time, Graham sort of dropped out of the picture from work, etc., and I took over, and that's what my business is today. So for the last 5 years, since that in itself's a funny story. The business has been going. Well, the club's been around since 1983. I've been looking after it or owning it full time since 2000, and I was very fortunate in the fact that I left an engineering consultancy with a couple of chaps building switch rooms back at that stage. But I thought, well, I'm going to make the move and go and do what I really like doing, and that's training kids and teaching boxing. I walked out of that on the 3rd of March 2020, and then we decided to shut the world down for a few weeks on March 20th. So, which was an interesting thing. But I was very fortunate that because our business at the time when I was at the consultancy, we used to work a lot with different companies overseas. So we knew about Zoom, we knew about online teaching, I was very fortunate that the software that I had at the time for club management was out of the UK, and there was all these messages coming from the UK that there was a problem. And I said to my business partner at the time, why don't we just start looking at doing some training online and shit? Because at the time we had yoga and boxing and self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was on the Monday, the 20th at 4:00, they told everyone that you've got to stay home and be good people. And 5:30 the next morning, we were running classes, and we did that for whatever it was. I can't remember how long they had us locked up. But yeah, that's where I went with. We were very lucky there. So, but back to the question about martial arts. Yes, boxing's always been my passion. I've always enjoyed it. Put aside the fear side of things, so I competed even up into masters up until a few years ago. But I've also dabbled in plenty of other things too. So I've played around with plenty of other martial arts, etc., to supplement my interest.
Which martial arts do you have an interest in, Brent? Which ones have you?
Well, I've done kickboxing, or I've done kickboxing, a bit of wrestling. Krav Maga I was heavily into for a while, and just before COVID, I was going to wander off and do instructor stuff, but COVID came along and it all seemed too hard in the world. Another one called Urban Combatives by a gentleman by Lee Morrison out of the UK, which was exceptionally good. A few others that shall remain nameless because they basically teach what I don't believe in anymore, which is, there are ones out there that just go against ethical standards as far as I'm concerned. And jiu-jitsu. I still play jiu-jitsu. I still enjoy that more for the brain-based thing, and I'm a lower belt, so I get caned all the time. So it's nice to be the student rather than the teacher.
Yeah. So have you got black belts in some of those other martial arts?
Nah, I never hang around long enough, mate. And this is where spear sort of comes into it. It all folds back into spear, and where that sort of led from is you still hear me? I think I knocked my earphone.
Yeah, we got you.
Good. I've dabbled in lots of things, but I get to a point, and my mentality has always been, I don't really do it for a sport. I've always done it, so if I have to defend myself, I can. Having been a police officer and worked in pubs, I know what doesn't work, and I know what does work. And sudden violence doesn't give you the opportunity to do a double leg grab or a special block, or grab this third metatarsal and pull it backwards to make someone squeal like you see in John Wick. My brain never worked that way. It never fit the mold. Even Krav Maga, for what it is exceptionally good. I love it. I'm not bagging any martial arts, but for me as a protector, certain things didn't fit. So I just went searching. I was lucky enough. I knew about spear many years ago. I'd never trained in it, but my Krav Maga instructor had trained heavily in it with some of the organisations he worked with. And then, funnily enough, in 2020, mid 2020, when they locked us down for the second time, I thought, I'm not sitting at home, so I went down to the gym, shut the gym door, got online to Tony's the spear system with Blau Tactical, and they have a thing called the Garage Gym, which is it trained live twice a week all over the world, and they recommended that you you do the first 3 months before you do a live class. So I did 4 months in 3 days. So
what's that? 4 months of what?
4 months of their Zoom call.
The videos, watching
videos
tutorials.
online, all the tutorials, so that in the past. So, and I came online with Tony teaching, and he said, "Oh, you knew?" I went, "Yes." He said, "Oh, is this your first live one?" And I went, "Yes." He said,
Okay.
"We recommend you do 3 months, at least 3 months." He said, "When did you join up?" I said, "Monday." He said, "Well, it's probably best you go and do 3 months worth before you do live because you won't know it." I said, "I've already done 4 months." I said, "They've had me locked down. I've been in the gym for 12 hours for the last 3 days, so I'll be tickety boo." So, and that was that was the start of my journey into the spear system.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, that's interesting. So you've read our appetites. So it's obviously not a conventional, just another martial art to add to the list of all the martial arts out there. Why don't we? I'll just play this little promo video of this fellow who you called, whose name is Tony Blau, and let's just put this on the stage, and it'll just put things into a bit of perspective. That stuff that you've just explained to us. I'll try to put this on the stage, and we'll just have a little watch.
I talk about it in every seminar. It's Coach Glassman saying, why do you think people don't fight back? You know, and I remember pausing and coming up with my answer, and he goes, isn't it because they're afraid to lose? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, it's that simple. And he went on to say, if the fight's gonna happen anyways, and you choose not to fight back, what you risk is losing everything. But if the fight's gonna happen anyways, and you get into the fight, and you happen to lose the fight, all you lost was the fight. Because you still have your emotional, psychological system, you know, intact, assuming that, you know, your life wasn't the outcome. And that is true research-wise. Where victims of violence who fought back don't have the same PTSD as people who just cooperated. That's huge, it's powerful.
Now, check this out. You're gonna do Karen. So if you're setting up here like this, and if I move the ball away from here, don't move your hands, okay? He's almost in that exact same position I want. So I just want you to see this relationship, this commonality, because what I'm really big on is demystifying how much you have to practice. People think, well, I gotta go to school, I gotta practice. You've done 1,000 reps where you stood up and you've done this and you're getting ready to go. And if I drop the ball, I'm kind of in that nonviolent posture. Don't take it literally. I just want you to know you've got this operating system and kind of this muscle movement pattern that's already dialed in. So that's this position here. The other thing that I want you to do is, Jeremy, just drop down and do a couple push-ups. This position, this movement of the kinetic chain hop up a sec, if he's in that push-up plank position and I have him just start doing push-ups out here, if he was doing those push-ups as fast and as hard as he could, so doing that, if I walked by without paying attention, keep going, and I went boom and it hit me, that would obviously rattle some teeth. So if I just don't even move your body, get your hands up like that, just as fast and as hard as you can without moving in there, do a push-up. Okay, you can see how much impact that has. Imagine that with a bad guy doing this, going, hey, you piece of shit, and then he just fires that push-up. So I want you to see the relationship between a palm strike and a push-up. Again, that motor pattern's already there for you.
When I teach next weekend, I'll be as fired up as I was when I was 20. And what I know that I'm doing is I'm empowering people, and I'm sharing, you know, like all of this information, and the feedback is universal. It's not gender specific, it's not age specific, it's not task specific. It's, you know, every day we're faced with some sort of conflict, some sort of confrontation, and how you manage that determines the quality of your day, and therefore the quality of your week, and therefore the quality of your life. Fear management is everything.
So like, so that there's so many questions that I want to sort of dive into about this, but the most important thing is like, is this something that's going to protect me, my family, my wife, my daughter, in that rare, unfortunate circumstance? Could this save their life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll kick it off perfectly by saying one thing. The basis of me, when I started training in the spear system, I understood, like I said before, it was about fear when I first started. All my training, and then how do I get better at doing it? How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that scenario? Run this scenario through my head. So I'm proficient in what I need to do. But is my daughter and is my former wife. And so if we walk back, my daughter's 21 just last week. When she was 13, she said to me, and bear with me on this, I'll get to the answers. When she was 13, she asked me, Da, can I go to Carindale without you or mum? And I said, sure, if you can take me out. And she said, I can't do that. I said, well, you're going to start training with me and with Krav, and you'll learn things and we'll make you better. Fast forward to when I started with the spear system. So both my former wife and my daughter had trained in Krav. They came and started training with me in spear when I was certified in Be Your Own Bodyguard course. They both said that this makes them feel safer than the Krav Maga and the boxing training. So that in itself is the spear system is basically taking what we already have intrinsically in us, which is our startle flinch response, and we say it's behaviorally inspired and genetically wired. It's already in us, this protective system. That's what's kept the human race alive for hundreds of thousands of years. We didn't run around 70,000 years ago doing everybody kung fu fighting and punching and all that. We used what was naturally in our system. So would it protect your family? Absolutely. And I'll revert back to my daughter. She was in Europe last year or the year before. She's trained with me a fair bit, not huge amounts in the spear system, but she used it twice when she was overseas traveling, not in anything major, but she was able to diffuse a situation and remove her and her friends out of two situations that could have been worse, with very little training in a lot of other things. So, and there's plenty of stories. We talk about it often in the spear system, and Tony Blair talks about a lot, is more people have survived violent confrontations just by sheer indignation than trained. So all we're doing with the spear system is weaponizing what we already have, which is our startle flinch response. So
yeah, and
there it is right there.
This looks like Rich Training. I'm not sure if it is Rich Training, but what do you know who Rich Training is, Brent?
No.
He's one of the fittest dudes on the planet. But he's a CrossFitter, right? So he's what's the connection to CrossFit then, and why did Greg Glassman and Tony Blau sort of embrace it together and almost collaborate on the methodologies? One is building the fittest on the planet, and the other one is a self-defense methodology, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good question. That's probably a really good one for Tony. But from the outside looking in, and my conversations with Tony about that CrossFit era where the two were together, there's a lot of similarities in the movement patterns that you have. You saw before, just with the wall ball, how there's already neural pathways for a lot of the things that are in CrossFit that transfer directly over into how the spear system operates. So again, it shows that if you're a really good CrossFitter, you could learn, have a day's course in the spear system, doing a BYOB course or some other course, and you've already got the skills implanted in your neural pathways to deal with the situation. Tony was showing before with the wall ball, where your hands are here like this. This is a non-violent posture. We've now created a safe barrier that person now can't get around, and then we can use whatever tools we need to. We create the safe barrier, and then we can use whatever tools we need to once we've weathered the storm of the attack, or we've diffused the situation. So there's a lot of similarities in what you do. I quite often tell people when we're doing the course, when I'm standing there, and I ask how many people are here that are trained martial artists or had military service and know how to look after themselves. And more often than not, people stick their hands up that don't have the training. And it's very simple. I say to them, if you can reach into a fridge and grab some food out or a glass or a bottle of wine or a beer out, if you can reach over onto your shoulder and put your seatbelt on, if you can tie your shoelace up, I said, you've done 1 million reps in your life. All we're going to do is weaponize it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the beauty of that. I don't have to spend, like myself, 35 years of boxing or 20 years of jiu-jitsu or 15 years of kickboxing to be able to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
From a psychological and physiological side, I would say there's some. I've never done CrossFit. I'll be absolutely honest about that. I think you're friggin' mad. But you probably think I'm mad because I like to get in the boxing ring and get punched in the face 10 or 20 rounds a week. So it's horses for courses, I suppose. In saying that, I will come and do a session with you boys one day.
Absolutely.
We've got the Open on Friday night, mate. You can come do the Open with us.
Good, I'll sign up. Done. In saying that, Dave, when we spoke a few weeks ago, we talked about the mindset. The mindset of pushing through that fear barrier, and it's what is it that stops us from doing a lot of things? It's not that we're really unfit or that we're not strong enough or that we're not quite in, I heard you talking before about that top percentile. There's also one thing that stops a lot of us doing a lot of things in life, and that's fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the SPEAR system you saw on the Blau Tactical website, the no fear system is also a Lego block layer of how we manage the fear is how we manage the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, manage your fear. So I would hazard a guess based on conversations and what I do know and heard from the CrossFit arena and Tony talking is you guys are going to manage your fear all the time. It may not be a life and death situation, but it's, am I able to lift this weight? Am I able to get, climb this rope? Am I able to do 40 reps? Am I able to do whatever I have to do? So how you manage your fear is how you manage the fight, whatever that fight may be.
So I'm trying to put it into context, like CrossFit by definition is functional movement, right? And functional movement is baked into our DNA. Babies move as they grow; they just move in functional ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we use functional movement because one of the characteristics of functional movement is that it allows the expression of power. It allows the expression of very high work capacity. And in the sport of CrossFit, that high work capacity drives health and fitness.
Mm-hmm.
In Tony's and the SPEAR system, you're kind of seizing on these primal movements that are pre-programmed into our DNA and creating that as a automatic response and tweaking it so that you can use that functional movement to protect yourself. Is that a way to sort of frame it?
I probably one of the best ways I've heard frame it, actually, from somebody who doesn't know much about the system. Really good. Absolutely. So functional movement from our standpoint, that flinch response where our hands come up to cover our face, that's our most primal thing that we do in our lives. So we bring our hands up to protect our face. Then we start pushing away danger. If we've got a little bit more time and space, we'll push our hands out a little bit further, and then we may step back to get ourselves on balance if we've got the time. So this is an ambush position. And perfect example for Australia, if you've ever been swooped by a friggin' magpie, you don't spin around and drop an elbow or drop an uppercut. Your hands come up to protect your face and your head. That is our instincts coming into play there. And then that functional movement moving out from that space, from that protective position, the primal position to a protected position, our cross-extensor chain starting to spread. From that cross-extensor chain, I'm now coming into a position where I'm gone from protective, now I'm into a tactical position. And then once I'm in that tactical position where I've weathered the storm, I'm able to take control of my breathing, I'm able to think, I've prevented whatever danger is coming towards me and settled myself, then I can apply gross motor skills to deal with the issue. So whether that's an elbow, whether that's a knee, whether that's a headbutt, whatever it may be, whatever those tools that you reach back into your back pocket and into your neural pathways, that's what we then use. So that functional movement, all of that's functional. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be alive.
So how do you deal with the freeze response, Brent? Because a lot of people, when they're in those situations, they don't respond in the way you've just said. They just freeze. So is there something, do you train people out of that or through this method?
Again, that comes down to that comes down to knowing fear. So when we talk to people, when we're training people, and it's not just it's not just the average punter in the street that does that. We've got guys who are SWAT operators on our training team, and we train police services all over the world. We've taught SAS, we teach Delta, Navy SEALs, etc. At some stage, everyone has a bit of a freeze moment, provided that you've got a protective barrier out there. So even that freeze moment, even if I frighten you, you still flinch. So it doesn't matter what you do, you will always flinch. It's whether or not you convert that flinch, and that's what we start training people to do. That conversion is very simple and very easy, and then managing the fear inside of that. So the other thing we do is we also go into the behavioral side of it, is understanding what a bad guy wants. So if we understand what the person wants and what they don't want, it starts to demystify a lot of that fight, flight, and freeze. We talk about the bad guy. What does the bad guy want? Money, body, or life. And he doesn't want to get caught. He doesn't want to take too long. And we want to make sure that we make it as hard for him as possible. So once people start seeing and hearing that, there's really only 3 factors that you've got to deal with. Then you're able to actually get through the problem earlier. The other thing that we also do, practically wise, as far as a functional movement thing, is we teach people how to be able to identify the issue, so detect it. Then we also have diffusing the situation, and then the physical defending the situation. So we call that D1, D2, D3. And there's a whole layer of psychological and physiological things that come in under that. So the spear system we have the spear system as the tactic, so the physicality of what we can do, and then underneath that is understanding the flinch. What does a bad guy want? What's our behavioral instincts when something happens? What's the psychology in behind that? So there's a whole layer. As Tony says, it's very much Lego blocked. It's not just the physicality side of it. A lot of people, and we hear it a lot, you're teaching people to flinch. We don't teach people to flinch. Everybody flinches. The best people in the world flinch. All we're doing is weaponizing that flinch and just making you safer.
So how do you convert someone's flinch into something that like in the practical sense in your course, how do you convert that from a flinch that's ineffective at offering you any protection into a flinch that is actually helpful to you?
Purely by drills. So we have a proof of principle drills that we go through, and we rep those drills several times, and then we'll run through various other drills that start strengthening it a little bit. So doing it in different scenarios. We do a thing called the mirror drill, where you start to feel the stress of what's going on, and we've got various drills that Lego block from right from the start. And when I pop in and do some training with you guys, you'll see that. But we start at the very base level. Stand by. I better put some battery on, otherwise we're all going to turn. It's all going to go bad.
While you're doing that, Brent, I was thinking about Anthony tonight when you were standing in front of that tall box, and
Yes.
were you thinking that just then when he was talking about fear?
I was looking for some ways to control that fear. Like, so it's the experience of like, so Brent, I have to
explain it to Brent. Explain.
So we have these things called box jumps in CrossFit. And I've worked myself up to a 24-inch box jump, which is pretty much the standard. But then every now and again in workouts they'll do 30-inch box jumps. So it's another 6 inches. And like I was looking, and Dave today was just like, just do it. You can do it. I can see how high you can jump. And he said, and I said, I don't know if I can jump that high. It doesn't feel like I can jump that high. And so he said, just jump next to it and see if you can do it. And I jumped next to it to see if I could hit the height. He's like, yeah, you can hit it. It's no worries. And then I went to jump, and then I smashed my shins in the box.
But Anthony didn't jump. His fear overpowered him, and so he didn't commit to the jump. And so of course it was like a half-hearted effort, and of course then you don't.
A half-assed result. That's what happened. Yes.
So
what should Anthony do to get on that 24-inch, the 30-inch box?
Yeah, get longer legs.
Okay, cool. Well, Dave doesn't have.
Anthony's already 6. Anthony's already 6 foot. He'd be like.
Well, what's it? He's 6. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Well, you should be nailing it, mate. Come on, let's go.
So the old brain, Anthony.
Shame is what you're going to do, Brent. You're going to put me into shame. I should be doing it right. Okay.
What you do? Well, I think that how you manage your fears, how you manage your fight is
like he has the physical capacity to do it. Like we know
absolutely.
that he can physically do it.
Absolutely.
It's just that. So would doing this course train Anthony? Is that something that the course offers in terms of a mental perspective that also relays into protecting yourself as well?
Yeah, certainly the No Fear program that Tony presents would, and that's certainly an online that goes through what it is that stops us from trying to achieve things, and it's past failures that come into play, and then fear of the future. So we have a thing called the cycle of behavior that we deal with, and down the track we'll share. Happy to share it with you someday. Maybe when we get a course, see it a bit understand. But the cycle of behavior. The thing is, everything. As far as we're concerned, the species, everything is a scenario. So your scenario is you've got a 24-inch box that you've tried to nail in the past. Sometimes you go to a 30-inch. All your past failures are going, am I able to do this? Well, I don't know. I've failed it a few times. Then we with inside of our system, we talk about goal, action, result, which you guys would fully understand. But we also have something that the golden rules, which is accept what's going on, just get committed to it, and then keep thinking. So basically, what it comes down to in that situation is, what's the plan? The plan is to hit the jump. So just get on with it. So the less time you think about the past failures or am I going to do it, the more time you're just gonna nail it. So it's almost be in the moment thing.
Yeah. Be in the
set
present
up
moment.
Yeah, just here I am. I'm gonna nail this today. If I don't, I'll nail it tomorrow. Who cares? Bang. So is the spear system something that will help train it? I'll guarantee you, once you understand the spear system deeply, and Tony talks about the system being, you can have lots of subject matter experts, but you've got to have, and I'm sure if you gentlemen talk about this, the CrossFit regime and training and neuroplasticity, etc., you'll have substance under the subject, not just a subject matter. Anyone can parrot that shit. Anyone can look in Google these days and do it, but the substance under the subject is really what gets me going with it. And the substance under the subject is what diving deep into how do I break that fear down and understanding it. So the No Fear course that Tony has online, and that's on the website, that explains, it really breaks it down over the course on how to get better at managing your fear, and then rolling it into your everyday life. We have other things that we also use. So that cycle of behavior, I've like we said, everything's a scenario. So I'll just quickly let me just run it through you really quickly, so you get an idea of where we're. Let me drag it out.
And with the in-person courses, how is it just a couple of hours, or is it a whole day? What are we looking at if we want to learn about this?
Good question. So we've got Be Your Own Bodyguard courses that are one day that anyone can attend. Spear in Australia has we've just started getting a bit of a resurgence over here with I've had some headspace in the last 18 months running back and forth from the States. So I look after Australia for Blair Tactical. So we're just starting to build again. But the Be Your Own Bodyguard course, which is about a 7-hour course, that goes through the whole. It goes through the understanding about universal flinch. It teaches you the basic principles of the spear system. It teaches you about managing your fear to a certain extent. We talk about the cycle of behavior. We talk about indignation. How about also having a directive that says that I'm going to survive this, I'm going to do this. And that may be something for you, Anthony, is the next time you look at that, your directive is, if I nail this, I'm going to have a block of chocolate or something. I don't know. I don't know what your secret habit is, mate. So a block of chocolate's okay as far as I'm concerned.
You can have an ice bath.
Yeah.
An ice bath, yeah.
Double decaf.
I'll do that anyway. I do the ice bath anyway, Dave. That's not a
Have an extra large ribeye fillet.
Yeah, that's good. We'll go with that. Yeah,
So there's elements of it. So it's like we're talking about earlier. It's about that rabbit hole. Once you start getting into the spear system, you start journeying through more and understanding more, and it's a true deep dive. It's exactly what it is. It's a system. It's not just a self-defense product.
So is it something that once you do the course, you're continuing to practice it, or is it, like we do CrossFit every day because we're constantly trying to improve on our work capacity or skills that are part of the sport. Is this something that once you've done the course, you kind of like, okay, I've done the 7 hours and I've done the drills. I probably need to practice the drills every now and then, or is it something that you constantly get better at if you get more advanced in it?
The beauty of it is if you went and did an 8-hour course, and you again, because it's hardwired into our physiology and it's part of our genetic behavior. If you were attacked, you would flinch and then you would drive out. Everybody does that. If you've been frightened and you bring your hands up in that primal protective stage, you will do it. If you've done the course, you will use it. Again, I've had a young lady who did my course 2 years ago. She got in contact with me to come and do another course, but she said she deployed the our organic airbag, like to say it. So she deployed the spear tactic with a boyfriend that wasn't being terribly pleasant to her. So she's never trained in anything else, but she went and did the spear system. She did that because the boyfriend was the way he was. So she was able to protect herself. Now, again, what's the scenario? Is there a knife involved? Is this involved? Who knows? But we stand by the fact that if you are attacked, at least it's something rather than nothing. And it's not just the case of I'm going to flinch and drive my hands out. If we look at our basic genetics, we've got our instincts, we've got our intuition, and we've got our intelligence. So all of us on this call have had a situation where we go, oh, Jesus, that doesn't feel really good. So our instincts have kicked in. Our intuition says, well, I might get off to the other side of the road, and hopefully I'll avoid this situation. So that's our intelligence kicking in. Unfortunately, our society these days is we outsource our safety, and we don't trust our instincts and intuition now and our inbuilt intelligence to see things happen. So if again, the course will make you aware of those things. Training in the spear system teaches you about trusting your instincts. I just had my old Labrador walk in the room, so he's looking for attention. So trusting the instincts. So if that happens, if you trust the instincts, you're going to come into a non-violent posture and have your hands up ready. So that's going to minimize the risk of being ambushed. So if the ambush happens, you're going to deploy. But if you're already prepared and you've got non-violent postures up, you're able to diffuse the situation by verbal de-escalation or whatever else is going on. You may not have to go to that third stage of defending yourself. So again, we talk about what's the scenario. If you understand those processes, so when we talked before about D1, D2, and D3, so detect, diffuse, defend, there's elements inside the cycle, inside that timeline of violence that you can de-escalate and diffuse or get away completely. So insofar as the training side of thing, the system gives you those tools to identify the threat, how to diffuse it, understand your instincts, choose safety. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, question for you, Brent. So it's so interesting hearing you explain this system, but obviously, I mean, you were in the police. So how is this different from what you would have done in the police? Because I would expect that police would be learning these types of techniques to diffuse situations. How is it how is that different?
I've got to be careful here. Actually, what I learnt in the police service in the 1990s insofar as de-escalation and violent behaviour and the tactics involved weren't worth a hatful of arseholes. Simple as that.
Okay. Very clear.
It's a different ball game, the police service. So even being standing on a door is different. First of all, as a police officer, I consent to having violence put upon me because that's my job. Same as a bouncer. I know that there's going to be a risk of assault or violence. I know that every time I put the uniform on or I stood on a door, that there may have been a problem. Those things that you learnt, they give you a very base knowledge, but they don't give you a lot. The defensive tactics that they use in the 90s, have they changed a lot? They do other things now that, whilst I understand why people use them, they're not overly effective in a lot of situations, especially when if you've got multiple attackers, you've got a ton of gear on, you're dealing with hard surfaces. So the scenario is huge. So the reason why it works so well in law enforcement and military is because again, it just uses your natural flinch response to deal with a reactionary gap situation. So we're not talking about if something's 20 yards away or 10 feet away. That's a different scenario to what sudden violence is. If someone's got a weapon at 20 feet, then it's a whole different ballgame. If we talk about the reactionary gap, which is bad breath range, fighting inside a telephone booth, everything changes under the scenario. And a lot of the tactics and techniques that learnt in the police service don't really suit those sorts of scenarios. Now, I'm sure there's people out there that will disagree with me, but I've been there and I get it. And you talk to a lot of cops and military guys, and they would agree with me. We've got SWAT guys and ex-Navy SEAL guys on our team, and prison services, special operation groups, operators, martial artists, and we all talk the same. We've all stood on doors or been in sudden violence or had things happen where we've gone, well, that didn't friggin' work, did it? Whereas the deployment of that organic airbag, the spear, to weather the storm and be able to get to a point of dominance, and then move on to whatever's in that toolbox I was talking about, which may be your control and arrest, it may be a wrist lock, it may be taking to the ground. You can't do that until you've got control of the subject, or even yourself, more importantly. So
do you think that has a place for, like, do you think spear has a place in the police, in the defence forces?
Absolutely. So like I said, we train all over the world, various prison organisations, police departments, military sections. Yes, absolutely, and it's tried and tested in amongst them. So we do in Australia. We deal with a couple of government agencies teaching them. So we teach their instructors, who then pass it on to their people. And in the US, the guys have just come off a course with the US Coast Guard, Army Corps of Engineers, US Army Corps of Engineers, and we're always with. If I look up at my calendar here, we've probably got probably 4 police departments over the next 3 or 4 months that we're working with in the US, and their threat level is I won't say the danger is any different in Australia. People go, oh, the cops are in because they've got guns, etc. Policing's policing. Prison work is prison work. Doing door work is door work all over the world. It's the same danger, just a different scenario.
So what about? So I'm thinking of my girls, my daughter, and my wife, not physically intimidating in any way. Quite slender and what is the physicality? If someone's like just say she's out clubbing or out in the city, and she's on the footpath, and some hooligan steps into her space. How does the size difference become offset?
Size doesn't matter until it matters. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, but well, if you just look at that picture that's on the screen right now, that lady there, she's 5'8". Looks like that's Carlo. Carlo's about 5'10", and he's a bull of a man. She's driving a palm strike into his face here. That's a full spear that's going up into his face. So can she deploy this and be able to protect herself? Absolutely. Does it mean she's going to stand there and fight the guy? I don't know. What's the scenario? Does it mean she can do something and then run away? Absolutely. So we talk about choosing safety, which is a core component of our timeline of violence. So choosing safety might be your daughter understands the principles of D1, D2, D3. So she detects it early enough that she can get across the street. So that's awareness.
Okay.
So she's trusted her instincts and her intuition. She's had the awareness and emotional intelligence to go, I got to get out of here. I'm out, which, like I said before, we've outsourced our safety.
Yep.
She may get to a position where she's standing in front of the guy and he's gobbing off and she can talk him down, but she's there in such a way that she's got a non-violent posture. She's got a safety. She's given basically a protective barrier around herself. And then she is able to talk to the guy enough, or some courageous bystander or somebody else comes along and steps in. The person loses interest. Or if the guy goes hands-on, then she's able to deploy that the tactic and then manage that to a point that she may be able to, let's go straight, knee him in the nuts or rake his eyes or kick him or scream or yell. But either way, even if she's diminutive, she'll be able to weather the storm. So my former wife is 4'10". My daughter's about 5'5", 5'6". I'm 6 foot, 110 kilos. And I've seen them do damage to bigger guys than me in training and be able to deploy the thing. So insofar, for you, Dave, the one thing I say in front of courses whenever people ask me the question is, can we do this? The one thing that I always say is, the main thing I did the spear system and training the spear system because it made my former wife and my daughter safer. It's as simple as that. And my present partner and her two girls have done it. And I know that me as a protector and someone who would do it has to be done, I know that those girls are safe because they've done the spear, trained in the spear system.
Yeah. Yeah, I just was a bit fearful that, that conjecturally someone might say that you could put yourself at greater risk with some if you entered into some sort of combative situation as opposed to just like fleeing. But you're already saying that fleeing and getting safety is your hierarchy of, preference. You always want to avoid the conflict if you can, and the reflex is I'm sensing something's not right here. Let's switch to the other side of the road. Let's just, this is like worst case scenario type of situation where you're going to deploy the organic airbag.
Correct. So it's about that whole choosing safety. Sometimes choosing safety is to go hands-on. You don't have a choice. You have to do something, and then to Lego block into the back end of it, the worst case scenario is it also gets back then down to what does the bad guy want? He doesn't want to get caught. He doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't want to take too long. So whatever happens inside that scenario, if worst case scenario, that's all she does is deploys an airbag and knees him in the ball straight away, and that resolves it. Then that's good.
Yeah, gives her 3 seconds to be able to run, or gives
absolutely
a couple of seconds for someone else to step in and go, hey, buddy, this is not acceptable, or whatever.
And Tony tells the story of a lady that he trained, not a lot, who was at his gym and he hadn't seen her for a few weeks, and he rang her up and said to her, I haven't seen you for a few weeks, and it's on one of his podcasts actually. He talks about how this young lady had been training with him not for long. He hadn't seen her for a few weeks. He rang her and said, what's going on? Are you okay? And she said, I'll be back soon, coach. I just, I haven't been feeling myself. And he said, I can hear in your voice something happened. She said, well, I was walking home the other day from somewhere. She noticed a guy. There's the first thing. She noticed a guy trailing her. She realized that it wasn't good, and she turned to face him, and she got into a position where she was in, as she had been trained, into a non-violent posture. And the guy came up and said, if you go down the alleyway, I won't kill you. And she started moving down the alleyway, and she said, all I heard in my brain was, Tony Blair's voice saying, you know, face your fear, get at it. So she just went batshit, palm striked him, kicked him, hit him with the spear, and he kicked her and ran away. And so Tony, she said, I haven't been feeling that. She said, I haven't been feeling shit. And Tony said, well, so let me get this right. The rapist kicked you and ran away ran away from you to save his own life. Is that what happened? And she went, yeah, that's what happened. So just that little microcosm of what happened is what the spear system's all about. The awareness, the ability to provide a protective barrier for yourself, deploying what needed to be done, the mindset. Shit, I've been trained. I can do something. I've got something here. It's organic. Deploy the airbag, and she did what she had to do, and she was able to tell the story. And it's a very, very powerful story, a very powerful clip when you listen to it.
It's chilling, isn't it? That's just that little reflex action made it just that little bit harder for the assailant. That he just said, "No, screw this, I'll get out of here."
Well, he's a human, so what's he going to do? He's going to flinch.
Yeah.
So he's going to flinch, and he's been hit 3 or 4 times, and he's gone, shit, I don't want to get caught. I didn't expect this. So she's pattern interrupted him. He's probably done it 10 times. So his patterns of doing that got completely interrupted by this woman going batshit crazy at him and hitting him with palm strikes and trying to kick him, and his reflex action was to kick and run away. And
do you think if she hadn't done the course, it's just what would she have? What would the story be like? What would she have done?
Well, who would know? But as I said,
but
hypothetically, yeah. Well, as I said before, there's a lot of people who survived violent encounters just by sheer indignation, which is a special kind of anger, isn't it? That's that, excuse the French, fuck you, but you're not doing this to me.
She might have alternatively just screamed for help. He would have muzzled her mouth, and then it's a completely different scenario then.
Yeah. And we talk about those sorts of things too in the BYOB course. We go through some scenarios which are pretty common for ladies. Hair grabs and grabs from behind and chokes, etc. So the beauty of the spear system is we've got one solution for a whole heap of problems.
Yeah, listening to you talk and listening to the stories, I just feel like, yes, I've got to get Joe, Charlotte, myself, Harry. I just want to do the course.
Yeah, well, we can do that. That's easy.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, and as a reward for doing it, Anthony's going to do a box jump.
Yeah, sounds good.
Do you get the same feeling, Anthony? Like with Svetlana, your missus, and
100%, 100%. So I guess my story is quite interesting, right? So my dad. Similar story to you, Brent. My dad was in the Defence Force, so he moved around a fair bit. But he is incredibly good at martial arts. Like he holds like a 7th, 8th Dan, 13th Dan in Jiu-Jitsu in a style called Jishikan. He trained overseas in Malaysia and all that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, martial arts was kind of like one of those things that took a lot of time away from the family. So I didn't do it. So I refused to do it. I just had this thing, which I'm very regretful about these days. I wish I did have those skills. But I don't have any way of defending myself, which is ridiculous because my dad has got so many skills. But I would love to be able to do something. So if Dave signs his family up, I think we'll come along as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And to say that you don't have any skills is probably incorrect. They're hardwired into us, and that's the beauty of the spear system. Like it's hardwired into humans to protect ourselves. That's why we have survived so long.
Yeah.
Our instinctive response in a time of violence, I would guarantee you, if something happened, and as men, we are, without triggering anyone out there, as men, we're protectors. It's innate in us. You can't change it. It's just the way we are. Some of us are more protective than others, and I would guarantee if something happened to your missus or family, I'm sure there would be repercussions to that person.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So, but it's interesting because it's just that perspective, right? So, I've got a dad who knows all the touches where he can essentially touch you on your arm or your leg and put it to sleep for 15 minutes and you can't move, So when I say the skills, I'm comparing my kind of skills to that. I don't have that. I don't have the ability to do that. But this is that initial response when you've got danger is something that is quite powerful, obviously. So I think that's obviously, just listening to you talk, that's what the spear system has harnessed, so
absolutely.
that it is just it is the natural response.
It's as I said before, the basis of it in our own physiology and what's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years is one thing, but it's the way Tony's created this, that the neurobiology behind it, the whole neuroscience behind it. There's studies being done in the UK, etc., from people that really do tie the system into the psychology and physiology of what we do every day. So it's I'm happy to dig all that stuff out and send it to you so you can have a squiz through it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely.
What's the most technical thing that you would learn in your 7-hour course or your day course? What like Anthony's just described, his dad who's highly skilled. That takes years and years to develop those skills and to deploy them efficiently. In your course, in the spear method, what would be something that is the most technically challenging thing that the students would be doing?
Probably helping me turn the computer on. And hooking up the HDMI cable while I'm cussing in the background.
So you think if we're all CrossFitters, we could handle any technicality?
Easy. If you've got look, I've taught a fully blind woman the spear system, and she had been sexually assaulted twice, and amazing woman. It was a privilege to train her, and after 4 sessions with her, hour and a half sessions, she split my lip with a walking cane, doing just simple drills, and I said to her, "You don't need me anymore."
Wow,
that's pretty amazing.
That's how powerful it is. And that absolutely, her guide dog had passed away, so she was out the guide dog show. Her warning system, her early warning system, was gone. But the fact that the way she moved, because her hearing was unbelievable, and when we're under attack, the first thing that is the auditory, and then it's auditory, visual, and then tactile. Her auditory system was just refined so that the moment I came within inches of her to do anything, she was onto me. And then her ability, also because of what she'd been through in the past, so she had a massive fear of just even me training with her. That in itself was amazing. So if you're a CrossFit, sorry guys, I've got to play around with power again. You hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. She was able to within 4 sessions she was fine. I'm sure she still is fine. I teach kids with disabilities, all sorts of issues that we see in kids these days. I train them, had them today. Sometimes it's like herding cats, like any frigging kid, but my kids that I train, I've got fully functioning kids, and some kids are on the spectrum, and they all do the same thing. They all flinch, they all convert it, and they're better for it.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
That's cool.
So what does the ongoing thing look like, Brent? So you've got this day course basically.
Yeah.
Do you have
so
to continually train? Is there more techniques that you learn, or is it just like, you can all do it in one day?
You can do it in one day. If you did it in one day, at least you have something. So you don't need to take, like, your dad sounds like an amazing dude, but you don't have to train for 30 years to be proficient at it. If you do one day, you'll be safe. We often ask people, how long do you think it's going to take you to learn the system when we do the BYOB course? And then one of the questions is how long do you think it's going to take to learn the system? And you hear people say, it'll be an ongoing thing in 20 years and 5 years. And someone will answer, well, hopefully it'll be today. And that's the correct answer. So, however, luckily in Brisbane, because I am here, every 6 or 8 weeks, I just do an in-person training session where we play with a whole heap of different things. We train at the club. So my business, Redland City Boxing and Combatives, is down my way, down at Cleveland. We train 2 or 3 times a week in the spear system. We don't have big crowds, but the people who I've got are very proficient. I've just got 2 new families in. I've got a husband and wife and a 8-year-old, and then another lady, friends of the family, and her 8-year-old. I've got a 72-year-old. I've got a couple of women down there. So they train because we enjoy it, and we play around with a lot of things. So we train in knife defense and weapons defense and groundwork and a whole heap of other stuff. So there's not just that one day course. We do a lot of other things. I'm in Melbourne in a couple of weeks' time to the 28th to do a seminar down there. And again, that's people who have trained in the system in the past, and we're bringing them all together in. So we're trying to bring our old affiliates in Australia back into the fold so we can do more in-person training. And then throughout the year, we'll have like small symposiums where we can do more training on a weekend somewhere, 2-day course, do ground fighting days and multiple attackers and similar things like that. So it's slowly building. It's a slow process, as you guys know. Nothing overnight success quite often takes 20 years. So back in Australia, Spears here, we've got the full support of Tony. I travel over there at least once a year. I speak to Tony every week about I actually look after their programming for their training all over the world. So they're just organising their global training stuff. So we've got plenty going on, but Australia is a place that we really want to tap into. And, given the past history that the spear system, Blair Tactical, had with CrossFit, I think Tony was telling me today that CrossFit Defence came out here in 2012, 2014 for a little while. Obviously, it hasn't had much in it since, but yeah, I think those communities, the spear community and the CrossFit community in Australia, could really benefit from each other.
Yeah. Well, I've been following CrossFit for over 10 years, and it was only serendipitously talking to my doctor mate in Melbourne that this conversation came up, because it's not promoted by a CrossFit organization anymore.
Yeah. No.
It seems like it was way back in the day when Greg Glassman and Tony were probably a little bit more sort of enthusiastic about getting it out there, or and then it just sort of seems to be the sport of CrossFit, and it's sort of dwindled away. But it's just got so much value, and I think with if you look at a typical CrossFit gym or other gyms as well, but you know, everyone in our gym loves being physical, but we also have a wide range of people, young, old,
Yeah.
you know, physically capable, just beginning, and everyone wants to have that confidence that, you know, if they get into trouble, they've got something to fall back on.
Exactly, and I think, unfortunately, society today is getting more medieval than ever before, and people are waking up to it and realizing that I have to look after. I have to look after myself. We are all capable, if something happens, to look after our daughter or our wife or our husband or better half, but a lot of people aren't good at looking after yourself. So that indignation would come into play if you know, it's that old mama bear sort of mentality. If you do something to a woman's child, they're good luck, they'll take you apart. But if the woman's physically attacked, she quite often lets it happen. Now people say that's victim blaming, but it's a friggin' fact.
Yeah.
You know, people freeze. Men have a higher chance of getting attacked than most women do. That's a rate that people don't talk about. Men have got a higher rate of being assaulted, etc., than women do, and most guys don't know how to defend themselves or even realise there's an attack going on. I had a young guy whose dad brought him into the gym on Monday who got king hit by one of those Esche tools at Carindale Shopping Centre. Yeah, he walked up to him and said, "Oh, do you want to fight?" And the kid went, No, I don't. This bloke waited till this young fellow was on the phone and then king hit him. So he's on his second day with us, and you can already see he wants to learn because he's had sudden violence put upon him. I said, what? I'll backtrack it. I said to him, what happened before that? And he went, he just came up and hit me. I said, but what happened before that? I said, nothing just comes out of the blue. It's what happened before, what happened before, what happened before. I said, did you speak to him at any stage? He said, we looked at each other and then he came up to me and close and tried to bump me. And then, you know, I said, well, how long did that happen? And the story got longer and longer and longer. It wasn't a 10-second incident. It had gone on for half an hour. So that's why I talk about we've outsourced our safety and also forgotten about our instincts and intuition. So this provides you with those tools to be able to go, okay, let me rethink this scenario and think about things.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. Cool. So just say, you know, I get a group of members and my family and Anthony's fam, and we're all interested in spending some time with you. Do we come to you or do you come to our gym?
I have Wheels Will Travel. Have you got 3 kilo wall balls?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. A lot.
Then that's all we need. That's all we need.
Fantastic. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. No, I'm more than happy to travel. I do have the gym. I do run courses in the gym, obviously, because it's easier for me. But yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
I think if you're the only one traveling and everyone congregates at our gym, that would be really appealing to people.
Absolutely. If I would rather have me come to you and have your community where they're happy. And they're comfortable and they know where.
Do you come out by yourself, or have you got a crew that come with you?
No,
or is it just
you just sometimes if the last course we had, Bruno came up from Victoria. He was allowed out. So he came up from Victoria, and then on the 28th, I'm flying down to him.
Okay.
So if there's a big crowd or there's particular things, we go. We'll travel. We're doing a course in June down in Victoria, so I'm going down there for that. So yeah, depending on what it is, but generally, I've got people inside my gym who I've trained, who've been training with me for a couple of years or more. So
if it was a large group, they'd come with you.
Just to lend a hand, but
breakout type stuff. Yeah.
Luckily, the system's pretty easily definable and easy to teach. So it's very easy to control a large group. So
Is it multimedia? Like, do you present stuff on a screen, a projector, or?
Yeah, we have a PowerPoint presentation that we go through and basically give a bit of a story and talk about the universal flinch theory, that everybody does it. Doesn't matter who you are, what age you are. Goes through a few other little bits and pieces. We talk about the cycle of behaviour a bit and the timeline of violence. So we go to, there's a theory component to it.
Yes.
There's a theory component, but then we do a lot of reps.
Yep. Is there like an assessment? Do you guys do an assessment on the students and say yes, you passed, or you've?
Not on the be your own bodyguard. If you went to another stage where you went to a level 1 certification, which is like your first level of being a trainer, certainly there's assessments through that. That's an online course. There's other things people can do. There's the garage gym. If they go to blauertactical.com, they'll see that there's a garage gym there. You can either just stream the videos and watch them. It's been going for 5 years. There's about 800 episodes.
Oh, wow.
That Tony's got. So there's a ton of material in that. And there's a few other bits and pieces. Tony's got the BTS 90, which is a 90-day program. They're halfway through that at the moment. That's online, but it sets goals and talks about the managing fear and a whole heap of other stuff. So there are a ton of programs that Tony puts out, but live in Australia, it'll either be me or Bruno, and we have Wheels and We'll Travel.
I like the idea of the live engagement, Q&A, asking, untangling questions and things like that in person.
Absolutely. And I think, I know we're a time out of it, but I think people got death by PowerPoint and death by Zoom during that whole COVID period. And people do so much of it at work too these days, that, working from home and blah, blah, blah. And even what we're doing right now with, we're in 3 locations, but so people really do hunger for that, let's say, body on body to where you're physically doing something and then it works. And you'll see how powerful it is when how the system works and that cross extensor chain comes into play and the physiology comes into play, and you just go, holy crap, okay. That makes a big difference.
Magic. All right, mate. Well, I'm excited. Obviously there's going to be a bit of a cost associated with it, but I'm sure it's sort of reasonable.
Yes.
We'll talk more about that later, but
sure.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions or things burning to let us know?
No, other than Tony said to say g'day.
Okay, fantastic.
Tony said to say hello. He's still great mates with Greg Glassman. He said to me, just stand by, I'll read it out so I don't stuff it. What did he say? Tell David I said hi and I want to talk to him about my back. So he just had a pretty serious back operation in December.
Is this from Tony or Greg? Because I've
Tony Blauer.
I know Greg as well. So
Tony Blauer. Tony said that he wants to talk to you, and he said also he's good mates with Dave Castro.
All right, okay, good old Castro.
It's a small world, but if down the track you wanted to get Tony on the show on your podcast, I'm sure he would dive in, boots and all. And
maybe when we do our in-person seminar with you, Brent, if the time zones are match, we just get Tony to jump in and say good day to the membership who are attending the course.
He would love that. I do that quite often with a lot of our courses. he's very generous with his time for a man who's as busy
He
as a lung.
seems very similar to Greg in his passion for what he's created here.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
some people love him for it, and some people hate him for it, and I think that's the same as Greg.
yeah, exactly.
So no,
Okay, Brent.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah,
We just got to set a date, mate. For that's all.
We'll get this podcast out to the community, and just let them watch the podcast, and I think just watching the podcast will
Whet their appetites.
spruik some interest, and then we'll gauge from just talking to them. Are you keen to come along, and we'll get a date?
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
I'll bring the Tim Tams.
No, we bring the ribeye. Ribeye.
Oh, wow.
We're carnivore here, so at least Monday to Thursday anyway.
And sometimes Wednesday night podcasts afterwards, dinner might not be carnivore. So
okay, Brent, 8:30. We've been going for an hour and a half. Thank you so much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate talking to you both, and I look forward to meeting you both in person. And just before I go, Eamon trains heavily with Inspire. He comes to a lot of our courses. He and I have been to the US together and trained over there. We've been to Vegas and San Diego together and trained 2 or 3 times in Australia. So he's a big supporter of the Sphere system. And he's a very big supporter of it, and we're trying to find our way into the medical world, insofar as protecting the staff in the hospitals. As well as anybody that some not very. My brother's a 35-year. I won't say veteran. He's a 35-year member of the Queensland Ambulance, and he can handle himself, and he said he's seen some terrible things go on in the ambulance service and in hospitals that they don't get paid for that shit.
No.
So they need to be looked. They need to be looked after. So hopefully we'll get to that point where we can help make those people safer in a day too.
Absolutely. Good night, mate. Take care.
Right. Gents.
Cheers, mate.
Brent.
Wow. I love that.
Cool.
We hacked the self-defense process by integrating a DNA level survival response with modern principles of physiology, physics, and psychology.
Sounds like a CrossFit definition, doesn't it?
It kind of is. It's just so
it's got that feel.
Yeah, it's very Greg Glassman-esque, isn't it? And those fundamental things always just work. It's like
they always do. The simplicity of things.
Yeah, it's like the laws of motion. They're just indisputable. That's why they call them laws. They're laws.
That would be pretty cool to do that course, I think.
Yeah, I just think about my wife, Joey, and Shah. Yeah, I just want them to do it. Like, I really just want them to have this exposure. If it can give them an inkling of an advantage, just a fraction of a second to get away from something.
Yeah, exactly. But interesting, like that the focus is on, the avoidance as well. Like, how do you, if that's the safest option to take?
That's of course to say this is like, once those options are gone, once those fleeing options and those things, once those options are gone, now I either just take it or I do something to have a chance of.
Well, I think it's also, but like, I imagine that part of the course will be how you portray yourself in those lead up situations so you don't become the vulnerable target. So obviously, yes, if you end up in that situation, there's mechanisms that you can take, but like, how do you make sure that you're not looking like a target? So Very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely smashing. That was great fun. So unlike our previous podcast, wasn't it?
Very much so. But you know who would be probably interested? We'll have to ask him.
Mhm.
Both Dante and Hakor are very much interested in running a kind of CrossFit / martial arts / defense kind of gym. That's what their interest is. So
Oh,
very
I
cool.
think
So
I think this
we'll have
type
to
of thing,
share that with we'll have to share that with Dante.
this type of thing could just travel around to all the gyms around Australia. Like,
Well, it could be, you know.
yeah,
Let's get CrossFit defense going again, hey?
you get it. Yep, back up there. All right, mate. I
All
will
right, mate.
see you on the flip side. Good
I
night.
will see you on the flip side. See you, man. Go for 20.